जय जय सुरनायक जन सुखदायक प्रणतपाल भगवंता गोद्विज हितकारी जय असुरारी सिंधु सुता प्रियकंता पालन सुरधरणी अद्भुत करनी मरम न जानई कोई जो सहज कृपाला दीन दयाला करऊ अनुग्रह सोई करऊ अनुग्रह सोई जय जय अविनाशी सब घटवासी व्यापक परमानंदा अभिगत गोतीतम चरित पुनीतम माया रहित मुकुंदा जेहि लागी बिरागी अति अनुरागी विगत मोह मुनि वृंदा निशिवासर ध्यावहि गुण गण गावहि जयति सच्चिदानंदा जयति सच्चिदानंदा जेहि सृष्टि उपाई त्रिविध बनाई संग सहाय न दूजा सो करऊ अघारी चिंत हमारी जानिय भगति न पूजा जो भव भय भंजन मुनि मन रंजन गंजन विपति बरूथा मन बच क्रम बानी छाड़ी सयानी सरन सकल सुर जूथा सरन सकल सुर जूथा सारद श्रुति शेषा ऋषय अशेषा जाकहु कोई न जाना जेहि दीन पियारे वेद पुकारे द्रवहु सो श्री भगवाना भवबारिधि मंदर सब विधि सुंदर गुण मंदिर सुख पुंजा मुनि सिद्ध सकल सुर परम भयातुर नमत नाथ पद कंजा नमत नाथ पद कंजा जय जय अविनाशी सब घटवासी व्यापक परमानंदा अभिगत गोतीतम चरित पुनीतम माया रहित मुकुंदा जेहि लागी बिरागी अति अनुरागी विगत मोह मुनि वृंदा निशिवासर ध्यावहि गुण गण गावहि जयति सच्चिदानंदा जयति सच्चिदानंदा
When the contrast seems apparent to us between a godly life and a worldly life, a life in Maya or a life in God's presence, does the contrast seem apparent to you? दिखता है नहीं? पक्का? Yeah? It's important to see that, because once you start seeing that, then you will be drawn inwards automatically. What can the world offer you? Many of you said that your lives are mostly worldly and little bit godly, although the intention is much more. The world must be offering something. What does it offer? What does it offer?
So interesting topics, but we still have interest.
So we share, no? We share topics, some interesting topics that we still have interest in. And indulging in these wishes, these topics, where does it get us usually? It is a waste of time, because today's conclusions are tomorrow's confusions. So then you can constantly, those who think Jnana Yoga is an intellectual process are very wrong, because they feel like, oh, I'm confused about this, I'll come to Satsang, I'll get the answers to this, and then it'll be sorted. But our intellect is just a leaky roof. We patch one side, another side starts leaking. We patch another side, this starts leaking. So we cannot get life or God in a framework of intellectual understanding, no matter what we do. And if you explored and contemplated all the topics in the world, but did not really meet God, that would still be a wasted life. So these mental topics. What is number one mental topic? Satsang? Yes, myself is the center of it anyway. And then for myself, what is the favorite topic? Happiness through things. I feel like all the surveys I've done for 12 years have shown me that it's relationships. Even more than material objects, it's relationships. So relationships, then money, material thing, like you said, which is a sense of security, a sense of an idea of security. Have you ever met somebody very rich who was secure? I have never met. They always saying, okay, my next project, but my next thing, but the next thing. Is it? That is a sign of what? Insecurity. That is not enough. Even the vast wealth that they accumulate is not enough. Then relationship, money, body, health of the body, to keep it in good shape, to make it good looking, all of these attempts. And then search for meaning, search for conceptual, like you said, topics, understanding for them. For some, that can be really strong. Besides this, what is there in life? In worldly life, what is there? Besides these four topics? So material, whatever we can consume, let's put it in the box of material. Better food, tasty food, all of that. What else is there? So in everybody's lives, it is just these four variables. So our lives are not as unique as we think. Is there a fifth? So, but away from all of this chasing, grasping, make happy relationship if there is such a thing, and then and get a lot of money if there is such a thing, make a perfect body if there is such a thing, come to the best conceptual understanding of life if there is such a thing. In all of these attempts, our whole life goes. What gets missed? God. Atma Gyan, which is not the fourth bucket. Many mistake it for the fourth basket. It's not intellectual understanding. Because you may be the greatest Pandit in the world. You haven't met God, you're still zombie. I may get in trouble with all the Pandits, but that's okay. So it doesn't matter what you've gathered in your head, if that doesn't drop into your heart and lead you to lead a life deeper, lived in God's life. सबको बहुत परेशान कर दिया ये Chandra, you can start your club. There are some more members. Unless, see, all these scriptures start with a chapter on dispassion. Unless you don't see the thermocol nature of this life, you will not fully be drawn to God. You will try to put one foot there, one foot there. You see, and that way nobody is succeeded. Have you heard a testimony from any teacher, any sage who said, yes, I was half the time interested in relationships and money and body and all of that, half the time interested in God, and now I found God. They don't say like that. See? And remember, I'm talking about the inward. See? I'm talking about the inward. Outwardly, I still have work, I have children, I have family. See? And I have these children who are more worrisome actually than my biological ones at times. So all this happens in the world, even here. But the task is to remain antarmukhi, inward facing. What is the promise the sages have made? Did Meera? Antarmukhi, sadasukhi. Are they lying? Lying. Has anyone, any sage ever said baharmukhi, sadasukhi? किसी ने तो बोला होगा नहीं. So then what do you feel like they're trying to tell us something? No? If with one collective voice, no matter what religion, what culture, what part of the world, everyone has said turn inwards. You see, don't focus so much on the outwards. Then they must be on to something. No? That nobody has said no, just focus on the outward and you will find God or you will lead a happy life. So if you can even in this whole satsang get this one line, antarmukhi sadasukhi, inward facing, always content, peaceful, happy. Yeah. How many are scared of that? Scared? What are the goodies you will miss out on? How many want 50% baharmukhi, 50% antarmukhi? Huh? It doesn't work out like that. Okay. I want to ask Nirama that all of them have been with you for some time, or some are just completely new as well? Those are meant, of course. New? They've all come. Okay. Everyone was in Rishikesh. Okay. Question? Yeah. Michael? If it gets too warm, you can put on the air conditioning whenever you feel it's too warm.
अदर अंतर्मुखी का मतलब क्या मैं ठीक समझ रही
हाँ,
हूँ?
thank
जैसे
you.
मेरा ध्यान कुछ भी हो बाहर प्रेयर पे रहना चाहिए, क्या वही मतलब?
I'll explain. So, she says, what does it convey, antarmukhi? Like, is it about attention? Is it about attachment? What is it really about? So, look at it this way. I have told you God lives where? Is it the physical heart? Not the physical heart, that is made up of food again. So, God cannot live in your physical heart, isn't it? So, what is this inside? What is this antarmukhi? Where do you go when you go inside? When you turn inwards, where do you go? Turn inwards. Okay, you can close your eyes if you want. Where do you go? If you were just a body, what should happen when you go inside? You should see your organs, you should see like X-ray, bones, flesh, all of that. You don't see that. You go somewhere else only. And we can get into how that is beyond time and space and out of this universe, but we'll keep that for another satsang because some of you are very fresh. So, but remember that in this going inwards is your opportunity to meet God. And it is an intuitive switch. It's not just merely with attention, although initially it may seem like we need to switch with attention, but it is an inward switch. But first, what you have to do is, like Jesus said, where your treasure is, there your heart will be. जहाँ आपका खजाना है, आपका फोकस वहीं रहेगा ना. अपने खजाने को कोई नहीं छोड़ता. तो आपका खजाना कहाँ है? Where is your treasure? Because wherever you think your treasure is, there your heart will be, your focus will be in this statement. So now you have heard in Satsang that God's presence, your Atma, lives in your heart. Do you believe that? कि अभी भी doubt है? It's okay, it's a start. You at least say, it's not like, okay, Ananta is saying that God lives inside your heart, but you are saying, kya bakwas hai? It's just like that? No. So, okay. So that's a good start, because many times it may happen like that. You may not say in politeness, but you may say, but I'm a doctor, I know what's inside. So, but it's not like that. So you feel like, yes, it could be. Then the next question is, can you testify to a moment where that has been your insight as well? And it's okay. Whatever the answer is, it's not something to feel either proud of or guilty about. Yeah, you got everybody's with me? So first is when I'm saying he lives inside your heart, you're like, no, there's no God like that. It's just a mental notion, forget it. You see, like that. Then we have a long way to go to meet each other. But if you at least say, okay, now it seems like what he's sharing is true, but I can't really testify to that as a living truth. You see, then at least that's a starting point, isn't it, for us to contemplate this together, for us to deepen in this. So let's convert this into a worldly example. आप एक मंदिर में गए, you went to a particular temple where I have told you that the most pristine form of the Lord is there. You went over there and you don't see anything. The sanctum sanctorum is dark and empty. Garbhagriha is dark and empty. You don't see anything at all. You see? Now, what will you do? So, somebody who at least seems a bit trustworthy has told you that God's presence is in your heart, you see, or you were using the temple example. So, you will go to this holy temple somewhere, he gives you the directions or she gives you the directions, you go there. You enter the temple and you don't find anything. Then what happens? Take me through the process of what you go through. First, some anger may come, frustration may come. You see? Now, why does frustration come? Frustration comes because it would not come, just anger would come if you felt like you had been conned. That this one told me, go there, you will get the most beautiful darshan of God. I went and there's nothing, I got fooled, so I'm very angry, I'll file a police complaint, something like that. But frustration means that somewhere you recognize that what he's saying is true, but it's not happening for you. And that's when we start to get irritated. There are many moves the mind has. Another move is that when it doesn't happen, the mind doesn't like accepting that. It will say, this is it only. This only is it. Because we've been told it's a no-thingness. So this only is the no-thingness. So it has many Advaita reasons to fool itself as well. You see? But what does a true devotee have to do? So what does a true devotee have to do? So you have to follow and you have to wait. Very good, very good. You see? For how long? What is the time limit? What is the time limit for the waiting? Are you all with me? You're getting what I'm saying? So you enter the temple, it's all dark space. You see? Now I want to tell you before we go to the next step that when you enter a dark room, what happens first? You're not able to see anything because your eyes have not adjusted to that yet. It's okay, turn it on. Our eyes have not adjusted to that yet. But after a while you start to see. Now can you control that process? Can you say, see hard down? Can't. It happens organically. You see? So in the quest for God, and to come to Atma Gyan, Atma Darshan, we have to be patient and aware that it can happen by grace, but we have to give everything that we have. Another point of difficulty. That we have to keep surrendering ourselves moment to moment. Oh God, I'm yours. Oh God, I'm yours. Oh God, I'm yours. I belong to you. My life is yours. My head is yours. My heart is yours. Over and over. Not necessarily, although verbally also is not bad, but in our heart that must be the intention in every moment. When we face the apparent absence of God's presence in our heart, and we must live there like Ma Shabri, Why Ma Shabri? Because she spent her entire life in faith till she was an old lady. When she was very young, she did enough sadhana that her guru said that we have moksha, you come with me, we are going to Swarglok. He told her, you come to heaven with me, you have moksha. She said, no, I know that my Lord will come and see me. So she spent many years alone in a hut in a forest, every day picking fruit for God, only the best one, and eating them in her innocence to check for what is the sweetest fruit. So with that kind of, or at least an attempt to emulate that kind of life, emulate that kind of devotion, we have to wait in God's holy temple inside. How many of us are willing to do that? Or at least want to be willing to do that. Want to be willing is all right. No? So we all see our weaknesses, and this man is nothing compared to Ma Shabri. So, but at least I'm wanting to be willing to do that. So that's important. So when you turn inwards, how do you turn inwards? What is the method that our teachers have told us? Pray, you inquire. The beautiful thing about this is that whether you pray to God or you really want to know the truth about who you are, you come to the same place. Yeah? Rumiji said, no? Rumiji said, that I went looking for God and I found myself. When I went looking for myself, I found God. So whether your pursuit is for self-discovery or your pursuit is devotion to God, you come to the same point. Yeah? So use the tool which your teacher gives you, and how much to use it? Yeah? जब तक है जान. Don't get scared of me. I only look scary with this beard. Not jitna ho sake. Well, in a way, jitna ho sake, or what, as much as we can do, but really the advice is to make it unceasing, nirantar. Nirantar japa, nirantar, unceasing, undivided focus on God. That has to be the attempt from our side. When the darshan will happen, when the recognition will happen, is up to him. Because the darshan of the Atma within is the darshan of an unperceivable light. Let's contemplate this statement for a moment. Is the darshan of an unperceivable light. Many times we mistake the fireworks to be it. That is like saying that the prasad in the temple is the darshan. It is not. That is just the outpouring, the byproducts. The outpouring is beautiful. You feel a lot of love, you feel a lot of joy, you feel a lot of maybe experiences, spiritual experiences. Sometimes the Kundalini may awaken, sometimes so many things will happen. But our focus has to remain God, God, God. Through our prayer. You see? So everything that helps us turn from Baharmukhi to Antarmukhi, I mean outer facing to inner facing, is a pathway to God. And by God's grace, in the world there are hundreds of true pathways to God. We must never feel that our way is the only way or our path is the only path. God is very kind. He has given everyone a pathway to God. What is that pathway? That which changes us from outer facing to inner facing. So, if you resonate with the prayer is very beautiful. Because in the prayer, then you start the process of communication which then translates into a communion with God. Then God becomes your best friend, your beloved, your father, your mother. But that period of time where you remain inward facing using the inquiry or prayer with no apparent benefit or outcome, that is the period of sadhana, that is the period of seeming difficulty. Keep inquiring, who am I? Truly, sincerely, who am I? It can be frustrating. No? Yeah? I had many tantrums like this, and with myself just sitting and saying, what is this? Who am I? Who am I? Kuch ho to raha nahi hai. When will I come to God? You see, so all of us go through those frustrating times where we feel like, where is it leading to? But are you willing, like Ma Shabri, to dedicate your life to remaining inward facing, independent of the outcome? Chanda can make a list of difficult things I'm asking everyone to do. But it's all just one difficult thing actually. Take the risk and bet your life on God. That is the one difficult thing. Everything else is included in that. Take this bet for me. I know some of you met me only once, but मेरे लिए ये risk ले लो कि I want God and I will not bother with anything else. Then you see how much will be given to you. But don't take the risk because how much will be given to you. Be willing to be a naked beggar who is spit on the streets. Be willing to be like that, truly with integrity, if that is what God wants. Then God may make you Raja Janak or Ashtavakra, either way. There is no guarantee of which way this will go. But know that nobody who has ever come to God has regretted it or said, oh no, I spent my whole life on this. I could have focused on money instead or relationship instead. Nobody has said that. Many who get frustrated in the process have said that. So how long are you willing to wait in God's temple in your heart fruitlessly? That is faith. How long? What is the answer? Not rhetorically, sir, मैं पूछ रहा हूँ. What is the answer?
God wants.
Which means this life entirely at least? Very good. जब तक माँ बोली. Very good. Very good. That's also good. That kind of devotion, that kind of allegiance to your teacher is very beautiful. It's very good. I have a feeling her answer will be that it has to be forever. Even if it takes our entire life and maybe many lifetimes, that we must remain like that. And if with any reassurance, if God made himself so apparent to this foolish boy, now 50-year-old man, but at that time foolish boy, but and continues to bless him in spite of his daily foolishness, you see, then all of you seem much more sincere, much more devoted than I ever was. So if he has blessed me in this merciful way, then he will bless you all as well. But that patience, that sabr, is very important. So sometimes my children get frustrated and they say, I am not cut out for this, I am going to leave. So mostly it's just a tantrum and they don't leave, but sometimes it can really, the ones who actually leave don't say anything, they leave quietly. So, because it becomes too difficult to communicate for them and for me also. So, when you now having this information, and it seems to come from at least partly, hopefully, credible place, trustworthy source, then if you say, no, no, I'm not cut out for this, then what are you cut out for? What is plan B? हाँ? क्या करोगे लाइफ में अगर ये नहीं करोगे तो? Before we come to satsang, we can have various alternatives, but now unfortunately you got scammed into coming here. हाँ? So तो अब क्या करोगे? Because somewhere this is seeded in you now, that your life could be lived for God, in His presence, in His life. Yeah? So if you say, I'm not cut out for this, how can I wait in my heart temple for my entire life, where life is passing me by? My friends are getting married and having children and making millions of dollars and doing all of these big things. I'm not saying that if you face inward facing, these things won't happen for you, but they may or they may not. Are you willing to take that risk that life will not go according to your plan? It will go according to His plan. Yes? So when you identify what you're not able to risk, that defines the boundary of your faith. You're getting this point? So you can just check on yourself and don't have to report it to anyone. Just check on yourself that I'm willing to give up this body, this head, my all my attachments except this. So that then becomes the boundary of your faith. That what are you not willing to surrender to God? What is it that you want only your will about and not God's will? And all of us have something. Yeah? So if you're not able to recognize that something, then you need to look deeper and be more honest with yourself. Because anyone who comes to me and says, I can honestly go with everything God wants about everything, then we need to have a deeper conversation. But at least you need to identify for yourself, where is your boundary? So can you take a couple of minutes and just look at your own life and say, this is where I set my boundary. I don't offer that completely to God because I only want it my way. Let's take a few minutes and contemplate. So if we really look, we'll find at least a few things where we want my way and not God's way. So when Guru Nanak Ji was asked, because he said, it doesn't matter what spiritual experiences you had, He said it doesn't matter how smart your mind is and what big things you can talk. He said it doesn't even matter how much love you experience right now. It doesn't matter how much meditation you do. He said like that. Then I hear it in this way that the frustrated disciple then say, then Master, what matters? So he said to them that Hukam Rajai Charna Nanak Likhya Nal, which means that always live in the command of God, and that is Nanak's main pointing. But if you don't sit in the temple of your heart, if you don't remain inward facing through your prayer or your inquiry or whatever method your teacher has told you, then how will you come to know what is his will? Then like most Advaitanji will say, but everything is his will, which it is. It is. This is one of those things which our mind cannot fathom. Everything is his will. Yet, do you feel like Nanakji would have given an instruction that we must live in God's will if we were only doing that all the time anyway? So Nanakji said, more than your meditation, more than your smartness, more than all of these things, you must live in God's will. It's like saying, he could have said, you must breathe air. Why would he say that? So there must be something deeper, no? That although everything happens in God's will, God has also given his children the opportunity to turn towards him or to not turn towards him within his will itself. That's why I'm saying it's not mentally understood. So in this moment, are we inner facing? Are we focused on God? Are we focused on our attachment, our desire, our ego, our pride? The beauty of the pathways to God is that whatever you notice for yourself, you can offer that to God. Say, Father or God or Ram, Krishna, Allah, Jesus, whatever, in whichever way you want to pray, you say to him that, or her, Devi Ma, that Father, Mother, Beloved, I want to only live in your life to be only in service to you. But within this, and if you're in a tantrum mode, you can say, within your Maya, I get trapped in these situations, in this particular way. Please help me. Please help me. Sincerely, and I promise you, he hears you. And your prayer doesn't have to be like some people start becoming very Shakespearean in their prayer. You see, so they're like, "Thou listenest to me, to my plea," like that, which is sweet in some way. But you can just be, if you that's how you normally talk, it is fine. But don't feel like some flowery language is a hotline to God or something like that. Just simple, innocent, childlike pleading is more than enough. So in that way, just take everything to God. If you are prayerful, and if your temperament is more inquiry oriented, then when the mind tells you, "But you must have this," ask yourself, "Who is this I that must have? Who am I? Who is this I that must have this? Can you find it? Or must not have, or must be this way, or must not be this way? whatever the temptation of your mind is, you can either surrender it to God in your heart temple or inquire into it. Yeah? In that way, you don't change your focus away from God. Everything that Maya throws at you, you use it to deepen in your love for God. So then your prayer life doesn't get interrupted, then your unceasing prayer does not stop. What is prayer for me? It is just a focus being on God. Is the focus on me or is the focus on God? When the focus is on God, then I am being prayerful. When the focus is on me, then I am being egotistical, proud, worldly. And in that way, all inquiry is also prayer. So ultimately, there is no difference between the Bhakti Marg and the Jnana Marg. Then you recognize that Atma Gyan and Atma Darshan is the same. Yeah? Have you met any or heard from any sage? I only had Atma Gyan, I didn't get Atma Darshan. Or I only had Atma Darshan, I did not get Atma Gyan. So that is a misunderstanding. It cannot happen like that because this is beyond perception and purely intuitive. So the insight and the knowledge of what that insight contains is actually the same thing. This is the beauty of this, which is not worldly. In worldly sense, you can't understand how the perception of something or the finding of something can be equal to knowledge. But self-knowledge is like that. It's beyond the mind and beyond perception. But this gift is given to those who have the intention at least to dedicate themselves fully to God. And all of you, that's why you come to Satsang, and I hear this is the second time, is it? You come to Satsang. You were in Rishikesh, all of you, and you also come here now and for the retreat. So that means that something is already drawing you in. Otherwise, you can go to some nice holiday, you can go for some movies, you can do some fun stuff. But you come to Satsang means something is, at least for the second time, no? Because first time some friend could have lied to you and said it's a lot of fun, it's very relaxing, you'll have a great time, you see. But after first time you would have experienced that actually it's squeezing your throat. It is not any of those things. If they happen as byproducts, it's okay. But really the intention is to get over the ego, and the ego doesn't want to give up that easily. Hold on. So that process of unclenching can seem like a lot of work, can seem like too much difficulty. And in spite of that, if you come for the second time, means that something is calling you from within. You see, if you sense that, then just, I say it may not sound like an elegant example, but like a dog, you must follow its scent. Catch the scent of the inner incense, of the inner perfume, and just get into a dogged pursuit of that. What is the source of this? Where are you, God? Where are you, Father? Where are you? It doesn't matter what the words of your prayer are. The method is secondary. Your intention is primary. But I hope that this satsang just doesn't remain like, oh, satsang. We had it in satsang and now back to life. Many children report this, that in satsang they felt like they could commit themselves completely, but the minute you go out, then you feel like, theek tha, it's okay, then we go on a merry way, and then we forget about most of the things which I said. I've seen that many times over the years. So you must be careful of that. Switch over. Remember this moment. Remember your commitment to be inward facing towards God, using the method of prayer or inquiry, whatever resonates with you, to surrender your heart, to surrender your life fully to God and to God alone. That is your commitment in this moment. at least hopefully. So keep that with you, and don't forget about that when Maya pulls you in and says, come. I'm an old man, so in my time, we used to have Tom and Jerry cartoons, on TV. So Tom and Jerry cartoons, some of you may have seen once or twice, but so in that, what would happen is that when Tom wanted to catch Jerry, Tom was the cat and Jerry was the mouse, he would set a trap of cheese. And do you remember that scene where the cheese would have those arms, like coming there? So they would come in front of Jerry and they would say, come. And then Jerry starts floating, just following in that haze. He starts just floating towards that cheese. And he's getting trapped. It's so similar. It's just so similar that this haze will come. Now, just when we are making inroads, breakthroughs, then something comes in the world. The best job comes, the best partner comes. Suddenly something comes. And the mind says, there's time for God, abhi, but right now do this. Is it? There's no time for God. Is it? We miss out our opportunity then. So, the idea that very popular Hindi song, that तुझ में रब दिखता है यारा मैं क्या करूं, is the biggest rubbish in the world, because that lasts a few weeks. After rub, the partner rubs you the wrong way, and goes the right way. So we will not get into these traps. Is it? Now, does that mean that there is no such thing as a auspicious relationship? That we must not get into, we all become sadhus and sit in cage? No, that's not at all what I'm saying. He can turn everything into auspicious, and he can bring the most auspicious things into our life as well. But it sounds very simplistic, but good things come to those who are patient, who wait. If it is from God, then it is not going anywhere. So don't worry about that. Jesus said something very beautiful. He said, why are you anxious? I'm paraphrasing, and please forgive me. But why are you anxious? And the bird wakes up. Who provides the food for a bird every day? Nanakji said something very similar. He says, do fishes worry? They don't know where tomorrow's meal is going to come from, but they're just merrily swimming away. So if this Holy Father takes care of every bird and every fish, does he not love us enough that he'll take care of us? What is the need for us to worry? What is the need for us to become feverish and grab and rush? No reason like that. So if you start living in this way, then you learn to be patient, to learn humility, faith, ever deepening, because your intention becomes one-pointed, which is to come to Atma Gyan, Atma Darshan. And why is Atma Gyan, Atma Darshan so important? I'm saying these things because some of you may not have heard this before. You see? Because that is the only doorway to meet God. Whether you call it Holy Spirit or Atma, it doesn't matter. So you call it Vaheguru, Sadguru, it doesn't matter. Words don't matter. But that possibility of meeting God's light, His presence, is a universal possibility for all of us. That's why the sages got tired of saying the treasure is in your pocket, you are running around in the world. Which treasure? All of us looked in our pocket, there was no treasure. So what is the treasure they were saying? What is the treasure? This one. So coming back to where I started Satsang, where your treasure is, there your heart will be. So what is your treasure? What are you treasuring in life? And why is it not God? very important to meet yourself in this way, in these ways. Because everyone who signs up for satsang feels that they're spiritual anyway. Many of us in the first satsang feel like we are so spiritual. Please come. But I'm introducing you to the spiritual project. Introducing you to the spiritual project, which is a complete and moment to moment, puna puna, we surrender to God, we pray to God, we inquire into the nature of reality. So, again and again, we have to surrender ourselves to. So, what have we spoken about so far? We said, what is this about? It's about finding God and living in His light. We've said that how to do it. First, your intention has to be fully strong. If your intention is not fully strong, then it will all be half-hearted. If your intention is strong, then you will start deepening in your faith, in your humility, in your servitude, and you will start getting blessed by insights. You will feel like God is guiding your every step. Have you already noticed that He sends you the right books, the right video on YouTube, the right thing somehow? You're just contemplating something and the answer shows up. A friend tells you, or a book comes. That is because you started to experience the discipleship of the Atma within. So that is the next part of what I'm sharing. That God's holy presence within us is the true teacher as well. He is the giver of life, love, light, everything. But very importantly, He is the true teacher, of which us worldly teachers are just outer instruments, are just servants of that one. We don't know anything actually. At least I don't know anything. Just have to make yourself available to His light, to His presence, and allow His presence to use this instrument of the body, of these words. Because if you get your own knowing involved, then it becomes contaminated. So, trust that your teacher is taking you to the true teacher who is sitting in your heart. So, in that way, it is very important to trust the teacher in front of you as well in the satsangs that you go to, so that they can keep you on track, they can keep you going in the right way. So, what I want to do more and more these days with those who've been with me sometimes is that I feel like at least they've got a deep sense of what the project is and what kind of commitment is needed and what tools are available as a pathway to God. So my talking, my sharing, I want to restrict more and more to tell me specifically what is the issue you're having in your unceasing prayer, in your inquiry, in your remaining empty. What is the specific thing I can help you with? Then that is where I'll come to you. So, yeah? See?
I'm addicted to this WhatsApp.
You're addicted to WhatsApp? We have good history with addictions. We have good history with addictions in the sense that so many of you, and I'm so happy, have given up such deep addictions. So this will also go. Put like this screen timer thing, and we can give you like a upper boundary, because these things just can take away all the time. No? Thank you for saying that actually, because this battle between the force field of Maya and the longing for God, on which ground is it fought? What is the Kurukshetra of this battle? It is the battle which is fought in time. Every moment is going to lead to you building your heart temple or building a delusion of the world. So this battle is about time. You see, so all your mind wants to do, all Maya wants to do is take this moment away from God. Yeah? Abhi you have more important things to do, later will be for God. And that later never comes. Because every time you want that later to come, then something comes in Maya, which is important, this work is important, this thing is important, and the mind says, okay, now tomorrow. And tomorrow, same thing. Tomorrow, same thing. And soon it will be the end of this life. I can't fathom that as this body, apparently, it's all a dream, but suppose that you give it some semblance of reality, that this body has been around for half a century. Can you imagine? Half a century. Sounds like a lot. But when I really look back at it, it seemed like just yesterday, everything. Isn't it? All of us have that sense. So the remaining time that we have will also pass like this. So this moment, be with God. This moment, be with God. This moment. This moment, pray. This moment, inquire. This moment, serve Him, love Him, communicate with Him. Don't look for so much in the world. Make Him your best friend, make Him your beloved. Try it. Risk something for this man who's inviting you into this way of life. Try it out for a few days. Make Him central in your life. See what happens. So do you have a clear spiritual pathway now? You know what the project is, you know what kind of commitment is needed, you know the building blocks of that, and you know what to do on a moment-to-moment basis. If any of this is confusing, please ask me, even if you ask me 100 times, because our mind will trick us away from this. Is it clear what your life has to be now as true seekers or servants or lovers of God? मुझको बता दो, because if you're confused, don't worry about sounding stupid. Because I know the mind will do everything to keep you away from the task at hand. How many of you want plan B? Plan B is like, be happy in the world, then die, it's okay. Who knows really? Nobody, okay, let's presume that that is true. So, how many of you feel like you really want God, but you don't know how to actually go about it even after hearing Satsang? Yeah, just kidding. Very good.
Even after holding the mala and I'm hearing.
Give her the mic. Why I insist that we use the mic is because many brothers and sisters have the same question. It's very important for them also.
So I want to pray because I have this want ki I have to be with God.
Yeah.
But when I hold the mala, I start with God, but I, start going with the mind.
Yeah.
And at the end, I again remember, oh, I had to be with God.
You
So
start
this
just
is the problem.
mechanical. Is
Yeah.
that what you're saying?
Yeah.
But the repetition is continuing, or you go somewhere else only?
Continuous.
It is going on.
Yeah.
So your prayer is going on continuously, but after a while, it is only merely mechanical. You're just saying the words. It's not
Yes.
coming with any feeling. It's not coming from a deeper place. Okay. Now, does this happen? Please come. Does this happen that half the time your mind is also somewhere else, like busy with other things?
Yes.
So first get it to a point where it becomes just even mechanically only with the prayer. Huh? So what can you do about it? You just have to notice and pull it back. Ask for God's assistance in everything. Every time you start the prayer, say, God, whichever aspect of God you pray to, please bless this prayer today. May I be with you. And when I forget about you, may your grace pull me back. Just ask for assistance in whatever seems true to you. And you see that these simple, innocent things help a lot. They seem absurd to the sophisticated Advaita mind. They seem very absurd. But just this simplicity. So start your prayer like that, just with humble bowing down. When you notice yourself wandering off, just pull it back. It takes time. So that's why I said that I've refused to entertain any complaints or tantrums about prayer not working for 2 years. So if you've done it for 2 years and then you say it doesn't work for me, then let's talk about it. See? So we have to invest that time. And the beauty is that it itself will teach you how to pray. Our prayer teaches us how to pray. Because we don't know how to pray also. Yeah. Like I don't know how to tell you to pray. I just say that this is the tool, use it, and that will. How to drop into the heart, how to hear the prayer within ourselves. How does it become a japa? How does it become a prayer of the heart? How does it become an unspoken, wordless prayer? All that only he has to do. That's why I started by saying that what can we really do? So, the more innocent we are, the humbler we are, and we must never feel like I've prayed so much, I've prayed so much. So, whatever, in our innocence and simplicity, just keep returning. When we lose our focus, keep returning. How many months have you been at it now?
I don't remember. I think year.
1 year? Do you feel like it is getting deeper?
Yes.
Yes, that is good. Okay, because if
It
after
feels like
1
I
year,
can't remain without prayer. I
very
have to do it.
very because if it felt like after 1 year, it is not like you can't sense that there's any deepening happening, then you could chat more about it and see what. But if you can clearly sense that something is happening, even though ideally you would not want the mind to wander, ideally so many things.
I need help in that. I'll pray before every mala that I don't go with the mind.
And when you notice yourself doing
I'll
it,
come
don't
back.
think about that too much, just gently return to God. You see, because the mind's two punch, you heard me say in Satsang. So the one punch is to distract you with something. The two punch is to say, nay, nay, you're so unworthy, it's not happening for you, you've been trying. You see, that two punch is the knockout punch. The one punch is just a jab. You see? So let it jab, you return. But don't buy any of its narratives, don't buy any of its story that it's not happening, I need to. Not that you're doing that, but just as advice to everyone. It happened. After 1 year, do you sometimes get a sense that it is praying itself? Yes. Very good.
It starts automatic.
Very good.
Even if I'm doing something, I wonder, I am praying.
Very good. Exactly. Very good. So value these small things like that, and then it keeps you from getting disheartened at any point. How is it 1 year back? We would have loved it, no? That we have free time and prayer is happening on its own rather than some nonsense mental thing going on. So this itself is beautiful. So keep at it.
Thank you.
So welcome. let's take just 2-3 minutes of silence, and then I want to start doing that more and more, because I feel like so much is shared, but because it's like constantly shared, then it becomes too much for us to actually imbibe. So more and more I want to remain in silence as much and just allow it to unfold. I realize it's a Friday today, but there are some children here who are attending Mirama's retreat in Bangalore, so they've come to visit, and I realize that many times what happens is that, in spite of all best intentions, we end up meeting only once with some of the ones who come, new ones. So I just want to make sure that I seed as much as I can in this one meeting in your heart, so that it flowers so deeply into the love of God, into His light, that may things, may His presence in my heart bless all of you so much that you gravitate towards His light, His taste, His presence in your heart. That is the intention. Because it happens so many times that we feel like, now I'll come very often, but somehow life will always throw things at us and it doesn't really happen. So as I'm getting older, I'm realizing that we must use every satsang as an opportunity to just give all the pointers so that a pathway to God's presence is light is clear for all of you. So you don't feel like, yes, I want to do it, but how do I do it? I want to live in God's light, but what is the way? And of course, Mira is guiding all of you, but I'm sure she'll indulge this father for some time in all of this as well. So shall we continue the inner journey a little bit before we go to the next question? So now you have some sense, and you can watch the recording if you like, of what it's about, what spirituality is, how to be in God's presence, how to be in God's light. So what happens is, I talked about this unperceivable light. So, but actually we can neither say it is perceivable nor say it's unperceivable. And this part may sound a bit tricky to your mind because you're really diving in. So just allow it to, as almost like osmosis, allow it to enter you. Don't worry about it too much in your head. So now what would happen is that if God revealed Himself in a purely worldly way, so like that, right? This is God. Then we would feel like God is also an object and we would not go inward. If God was only Nirguna, pure, absolute Nirguna Brahman, which He is, but He did not manifest Himself, then that would seem unapproachable, unfindable for most of us. So then God in His mercy and grace is always found the best solution. So the holy presence of God within ourselves, we cannot say either perceivable or unperceivable. We have to say in a way both, which in our mind doesn't make sense. You see? Because when I ask you the question, can you sense His presence? Then you say, yes, I can. I say to you, where is His presence found? You may say, most of you may say, somewhere in my heart, somewhere here it feels like. You see? So if it is purely Nirguna, then you would not be able to say that. If His presence was just sheer Nirguna, then we would not be able to say it's in my heart or feeling in this way here. You see? So that here-ness gives our spiritual life an anchor. But if you say, what is the color of that? Is it like other emotions like anger, fear, lust? Is it like that? No, it's different in texture. No? You can't say it has those attributes, characteristics. So you can say it here, but if I say what is the boundary of this being, You say it is boundless. And some of these things you may have to dive into more and more to be able to confirm. But I'm just again seeding all of this with you, that you say it is boundless. So that which is saguna or manifest or has quality cannot be boundless. See? So that is why this holy presence of God is both saguna and nirguna. See? Both saguna and nirguna. And only can be met intuitively. Try as you might, you cannot find it in any worldly, in any empirical ways. Only your Atma can guide you to it. Only Atma leads to Atma Darshan. Actually, not a single line of spirituality we can fathom without the Atma's help. Without spirit helping, we don't fathom spirituality. But many, unfortunately, in the world are trying to do a godless or a spiritless spirituality. Just like a brute force attempt. Like a mechanical process. It doesn't work like that. Not in a lasting way, anyway. So this Atma is the holy presence which you can find within yourself. It is not within your body, but it is within yourself, capital S. But it will seem like it is found within your heart and the body. It will seem like it's in this region. You see? So that is what we call the holy temple of God in our heart. And where if you feel like you don't find anything, we are still supposed to be inward focused with the faith that the darshan will come. Remember what I said about Ma Shabri? We just have to have that faith that God's presence will reveal itself to us. Then what happens? As you remain in this presence, which can seem localized in your heart, you introduce to His boundless nature. Right? There are times where you will feel like you're everywhere, you're not localized. There are times where you feel so broad and this body just seems to be an appearance in front of you. So all these insights will come where you recognize the boundlessness of consciousness and how within this consciousness all this world play, all these universes, they come and go. So when Ashtavakra said that you are the boundless ocean in which the lights of the universes come and go, at that point it becomes your true recognition that I am this ocean of consciousness in which all of this time and space is appearing and disappearing. And just bear with me, even if it's sounding too far-fetched at the moment, one day may it be your revelation as well, your insight as well, that what the great sage Ashtavakra said, that this universe is actually an object within myself. I am not an object in this universe. Okay? Now don't make this a mental understanding because that will only add to trouble and spiritual pride. But this kind of insight will start appearing. Okay? Then as you deepen in your spiritual journey, you will recognize that your true nature is pure awareness itself, that which witnesses even the boundless being, but itself has no attribute, no time, no space, nothing in the universe has ever touched it. The pure Sakshi, with no Sakshi attribute, just a Sakshiness, like an awareness. You'll notice that you are this sheer, pure awareness, not a perceiving, but that which is aware even of perceiving, that which is aware of sight, smell, taste, touch. You see? It is, but it itself is not even bound by sight, smell, taste, touch. You will see that you are that which you cannot really speak about. You're beyond all of this, timelessly, wordlessly. And this is the gift of the Atma within. It wants to bring you to unity with your Nirguna reality. You will realize that your truth is Abheda. Abheda means non-distinct from God. one with God, in union with God. And this God we cannot fathom in our head. The absolute reality, Nirguna Brahman, is beyond any fathoming. But you will always also realize, unless you give it to the mind, like this is a very delicate point in your spiritual growth. So when you get there, may you remember these words. Because when you get to this point, your mind wants to come in even there and say, now you got it. Is it? And tries to make even this like a personal achievement. Is it? And makes us proud of that insight that now I am awake, where are my students, where are my disciples, finally all these things will start happening for me. Is it? So it takes the heart's holy desire to spread the light, to share God's light and love and humility into like a personal achievement, that I am now a teacher of God and I can bring God to people and all of that nonsense, which we can't actually do anything. We can only keep sharing. So at that moment and moments after that, if we keep falling for spiritual pride, then our life will be much worse off than how it started. I'm looking at Chanda again. So, because that is the Ravan mode. That is the Ravan mode, and every biblical story is about spiritual pride. So whichever culture, whichever tradition you look at it, when we start feeling like I know something, I am better than my brother or sister in this world, because they are chasing just worldly things, I am chasing God. We should never fall into these things. We are still nothing but humble servants. So we must remember that although in our reality we are Abheda, that aspect of us which wants to claim the Abhedaness, is the Bheda. Getting what I'm saying? In some sense is difficult, I know. You recognizing that you are Abheda, non-distinct from God, you are that pure reality, absolute awareness. But even in this, you will find like a worm over there which wants to be the claimant of that insight. You see? And that, if it is allowed to perpetuate, then that becomes a very, very strong ego, bigger than the ego that was there before. And that is the spiritual ego, and that's why Ravan, who was a great sadhaka, great bhakta of Sri Lord Shiva, then fell into the spiritual pride, and because his tapas, his sadhana was so much at one point that Lord Vishnu himself had to come and take care of the operation that he was doing in this world. And whichever time in history, whichever culture, whichever continent, whichever aspect we've been in, God has always revealed himself in some way to bless humanity and to prevent them from going too far into depravity, into evil, into all kinds of oppression. So remember that the Ram and Ravan story is not just history, it is history, but also it is the possibility in our life. So as you embark on the spiritual life, know that the Abheda aspect of you is unchanged, so whatever may happen. But the Bheda aspect must always be kept as a bhakta, as a servant of God. Because the minute you start to take yourself to be something, you're contaminating your own spirituality. And the problem with pride is, you know what? We can't spot it for ourselves. Only others around us can spot it. Because it has a sting which is palpable to everyone else. Just like our bad breath we can't smell, others around us may tell us, like that. So our pride is like that. So if pride gets a hold of you, then those are very dangerous territories for spiritual life, and that is the mind's trump card actually. So always consider yourselves to be a servant, be a foolish beggar. Because if you were to really check, like if I was to really check what do I actually know, after being in spirituality for so many years, more than 25 years, what do I actually know? Everything useful that comes out of this mouth is what he puts there. Everything foolish that comes out of this mouth is when I become proud. And it happens every day. It happens every day. So my project at the moment is, how can I share satsang without any pretense? Like every day, that is the attempt to just be as transparent an instrument of God's will. But I find that Ananta comes, sometimes. It's like, sit down, keep quiet, like that. So, and I realize now at this age that it's going to be a lifetime project. And for most of us, maybe it's going to be a lifetime project to make sure that our pride doesn't contaminate the holiness of satsang, the holiness of sharing God's light. So to drop the mask completely, to drop the pretense, is work that I'm working on right now. It's a work in progress. And that work will be given to all of us. When we come to God, it will be a natural inclination to share Him. Like you find the greatest treasure that can help all your brothers and sisters, you want to share it with everyone. So that inclination will be there for all of you. But what happens is that when people start falling at your feet, when people start calling you, like I was like in my 30s, when people started calling me father, and I know like some of you were there, some of you started calling me father, but somewhere, if you start getting used to being on a pedestal, you get used to people falling at your feet, people calling you guru, people calling you father, then you can build a new persona around that, and that is very dangerous for your own spiritual growth. You feel like you've made it, you see, you reach the top of the mountain, but with God there is no made it. There's always a deepening, there's always a new learning every day. So that openness, that freshness should always be there. Always be there in all of you, no matter what insights you come to. I see that sometimes I notice somebody sends me, but I notice that some of our brothers and sisters already fall into that trap after a very short time of being in satsang also, that they get into this kind of spiritual pride that I can do this, I should have disciples, I should have devotees. Let that be as organic a process as possible, and let that unfold just gently, simply. Every step, like हिंदी में बोलते हैं ना, if हर कदम फूंक फूंक के लेना है, especially in this territory where we fall into pride and we won't recognize it. You see, our people around us, the loved ones may try to tell us, but we won't hear. We will feel like everyone else is stupid. You see? And it can happen to all of us. So like I've told all my children in Sangha that if you find something like that happening here, please say it out openly in front of the Sangha, on the mic. We have nothing to be scared of where it comes to being open and sharing in satsang. And hopefully God will give me the patience and the openness to hear even strong criticism. So may it be so. But we must always have that approach as we progress. I'm saying all of this to you because, I don't know what can happen in a year. So it's very important to retain your humility and sense of servitude. That is for your own safety. What will God do with this foolish one, the servant? The whole universe is a firefly for him. What is he going to do with these mere grains of servants? It's of no use to him. We can never be of any real use to him. But our intention should always be to serve him. It is for our own safety. It is for our own spiritual growth. So when you find your mind saying, oh, but why should I like this? I am that only, no? You only told me I am that only. See, that is the claimant. The claimant who wants to claim that it is that is not that. It's still that tan matra of the ego which is popping around. And if you allow it to reincarnate, then it can create 10 heads for itself, right? Ravan. That is the purpose of that. Telling us in that way that the spiritual ego is 10 times stronger than the worldly ego. Okay? So never have pride about your spirituality. Let it make you more and more humble. Always have knowledge of pride and not pride of knowledge. It's very, very important. So in that way, I've given you a blueprint of our entire spiritual life. You can give him the mic, please, Chandra. We'll come to your question also.
Like I've heard you sometime this Antarmukhi Sadashuki. So I see that I'm not able to do it, but I also see where I'm struggling. So this going inwards is for me is very much dependent on where I am, like external. Like if I'm in office, I just feel that in अंदर जाने से I'm weak or something like that.
I'm weak.
Or if I'm with someone, I just feel that okay, बाहर ज़्यादा होना important है rather than being with myself inside. So मतलब indirectly saying that I don't still trust. I feel fearful going inside. So I want to believe it, but मैं नहीं कर पाता.
It's good to at least notice this, and it is a ever deepening process. Am I always antarmukhi? No. Maya taps me many times every day. So it's a ever deepening process. But you have to remind yourself when the mind weighs the arguments. It says, but now you have to focus on this thing. You see, can there be ever an exchange which is worthwhile where on one hand you exchange God for something else? Tell me one when it is a worthwhile thing to do. So don't just feel like I'm being antarmukhi for peace or joy or even some outcome for myself. We are being inner facing because God lives there. If I told you, is there a particular aspect of God that you resonate with the most? Like Ram?
I'm doing that Jesus.
So if I told you Jesus is sitting next to the library over there, then what will you exchange meeting him for? The most beautiful girl, the highest money possible, biggest lottery ticket ever. What can tempt you away from the Lord?
I want to say nothing, but can't say it with integrity.
Yes, very good, very good, very good. But this we have to start then noticing, because that's a lifetime project. Can I say tomorrow morning when I wake up I won't be deeply attached to some worldly thing? I can guarantee. I cannot guarantee. In spite of so many years of just focused on God's life. So all of us, that makes us humble. And I'd be very suspicious if somebody says, now I'm Maya Rahit. I'm free from the clutches of Maya forever. No one can say that. That sounds like you're just inviting Maya actually. Like tomorrow you're going to be caught in something. It just sounds like that. You see, so only God is fully free from Maya. Maya is His creation. But all who are experiencing the human condition, who are experiencing this waking state, cannot claim to be fully free from Maya. So it's a lifetime project, and that calls for a lot of humility to recognize. So here your grandfather is telling you, no, in a way. So your grandfather is telling you that he's still working on this very same project. And of course, because I have more grey hair, maybe there is a little more deepening that is here, but it's the same thing. So at least you recognize that your project is to be with God throughout, but you still fall for things in Maya. And that recognition in itself will help you to go deeper. So as long as you endeavor to return, keep returning. There is no quick fix solution in any of this. Although true insight and true devotion can only be in this moment. It's completely quick and right now. Like the choice is for right now. And yet when we look at the trajectory of life, we realize that those moments of insight help us deepen more and more. And yet it's an ever deepening process. So both again things which the mind can't understand. It's completely instant like this, but also a forever job. So this moment you have the choice. God or me? God or me? Head or heart? Head or heart? That is the battleground. That is the battleground. So the more you pick God, the stronger your heart temple is. The more defenses you have against Maya. The minute you start thinking you're doing well, you've broken down some of those defenses. You've gone into pride. So it's a constant push-pull between these two force fields which seem to be playing in our life. Were you ever a gamer? Were you a gamer? At no point? No point, okay. So, Sida bacha. So, but suppose that you were, some of your friends you must have seen or something, where they got so addicted to the game, they start valuing that game more than their reality. So, that is a good metaphor to understand Maya. It's just like this dream appears, this game appears, and we can't even say that it is a recurring dream or a continuous dream. Because when a new dream also happens for us, we don't say, oh, what a nice new place. It seems like we've been there. Somebody comes and asks us our name in the dream. We say, it is this one. They say, where are you coming from? Has anybody ever said in their dream that, no, I don't know where I'm coming from. My dream just started. Give me some time. Nobody has said. No? So memory seems to function. We seem to experience a world. We seem to experience ourselves as somebody. So we can't say that this is not that. We could be very well having the very same conversation in a dream, isn't it? Then you wake up and say, I had this conversation with Ananta. So can we really say that this is not that dream? We can't really say. So because we can't say it's really about the nature of whether this is tangible or not, we can only keep hoping to wake up out of this Maya, snap out of this game that we seem to be so deeply involved in, and return to our true place. So our job is to wake up from the waking state, where we already seem awake, but there's an awakening that happens out of the waking state, where you recognize your truth is deeper, it is somewhere else. So what to do when the mind grabs you?
God knows best.
God, yes. But also you try and return with whatever you feel you have at your disposal. Just you notice yourself. No? We notice like what happens. We want to pray all day. For example, we start the day saying, I'm going to start the day with God's presence. I hope all of you are doing that. So start the day with God's presence because that gives you the vitamin for the day. Without that, it's very difficult. I'm speaking from my own experience. Like if you start the day in a worldly way, then to remain in God's presence throughout will seem very, very difficult. So use the waking moments to return to God before getting involved in some other drama of the world. Start your day with God's presence, and then our intention is to remain with Him through our prayer, through our inquiry, through whatever spiritual method. So we remain like that. Then there'll be many times through the day, and I'm speaking from direct experience, that you just find yourself involved in the world. Something happened to the children, something I'm speaking from my age, but something, and you feel like you're a man, you're in this world, you're in this life, you're there. The minute you notice that, just return to your true place. Use your prayer, return to your heart. And don't say, okay, now today I'm trapped in this, tomorrow we'll do again properly. No, when you notice, return. When you notice, return. That's how it will become natural more and more for you to live. And soon then your report will start changing. So you may say 98% mind now and 2% with God. That may become 95-5, it may become 90-10, 85-15, more and more, more and more. And keep asking God for help. Keep saying, please help me, God, please help me, Father, with this. I notice my condition. Because what is that 98 actually? That 98 is a hellish life. So Maya's attempt is to make hell seem like heaven. Hell seem palatable. Why do you want to live in God's life? I'll give you everything here, no? I'll give you physical pleasure, I will give you monetary success, I will give you material things. Why you want to search for God? That is Maya's tune. So it tries to make this separation seem like it's fine. You see? When we are living in this separation from God, the mind comes with the attempt, the world appearances, when narrated by the mind, when believed in, they become Maya. So, to put it simply, Anandamayi Ma said, Maya is Main Aya. Yeah? So, when you feel like you are a me, then you are in Maya. At that point, God is not seeming very real to you. He's seeming like a concept. So, this me, this man, is trying to make this separation, this disconnection with God seem like it is fine. Because I have this, I have this, you see? And that this starts losing its quality very soon, its joy very soon, and soon it becomes a problem. You see? So these are symptoms of hell. So separation, anxiety, resentment, guilt, pride, all of these are not fruits of living in God's presence. They are fruits of selfishness, they are fruits of egotism. And that separation itself is, we don't need to be roasted on a fire. Just separate from God is more than hell for me. To not be with the beloved in the heart itself is hell. What other hell do we need? So, C.S. Lewis actually said something very beautiful. He said, hell is not a place, but it is that something which is growing within you. If you allow it to grow so much, it will take over your life. That separation, that individuality, that egotism, that ambition, that grasping, all of this. You see? So when we say mostly with mind, maybe we don't realize the severity of the issue then. And I want to, without scaring you too much, I want to tell you this, that don't be trapped for too long in this hell posing as heaven, you see? Because soon it will be a wasted opportunity. Kabir ji told us, अवसर बार बार नहीं आवे, अवसर बार बार नहीं आवे. Could he be exaggerating? हो सकता है आवे, ऐसे ही बोल रहे होंगे. Like a great sage, there's no reason to lie to us or exaggerate. Is it? But do we take it seriously? Yes.
So my question is, we do get opportunities, a lot of opportunities. So, and maybe it's a guidance from God. So do I have to take every opportunity? Is it worth? Because I don't think so. I have to take every opportunity which is coming on my way. I feel that because it does affect me or whatever it is, I don't know. But somehow I want to know the guidance, like maybe he is testing me. Okay, I given you past few, you have done some mistakes, but still I'm giving you this opportunities again and again. So if you have not learned from your mistake, I'm again giving you. Maybe I'm not learning, I don't know why, but the same opportunities, or maybe anywhere, whether it is work, personal, or spiritually, opportunity is coming, but I'm not able to grab it. Maybe I'm not able to understand the guidance which he want to give me. So help me with
Thank
that.
you. Very good question. So, to recognize that there are two possibilities, you see, that there are two possibilities. One is that there could be possibility of something being auspicious for us, good for us, which means that it helps in our deepening relationship with God, or something being offered in the world, like the story of Narada or the story of Vishwamitra, with Menaka and all of that, where there are opportunities to deepen in the separation from our relationship with God. You see? So really the question would be to how to distinguish between these two things, because both seem like opportunities, isn't it? Like that can seem like an opportunity. Oh, I better grab this, otherwise this relationship is going. Or that which is holy can also seem like, I found this beautiful pathway, I found this beautiful prayer, this beautiful bhajan. It can help me deepen. When I hear it, I feel so much in love with God. You see, that's also an opportunity in a way. You see? So to use the word opportunity, I will first try and explain to everyone what is the meaning of good versus bad. Because opportunity means that which leads to further good. So good is that which comes from God, you see, and leads to God. You see, sometimes it will feel like an or, but there's really no or over there. But for now it's okay. That which comes from God or leads to God is good. Yeah? That which makes us take ourselves to be the false ego, the selfish identity, the me, is bad, is inauspicious. See? So for a lot of us, it will take a long time to get used to this switchover of good and bad, because in the world's conditioning, in school, in parenting, in society, we've heard different things like when opportunity knocks, you have to grab it. When these things we are conditioned with. But from whatever little experience I have, I've noticed that only that which God has guided me to, which God has revealed for me in my life, that is good. And everything else had the potential to make me proud, selfish, take the unreal to be real. Yeah,
So how will I distinguish whether this is good or because every opportunity is sent by God only, maybe for my test or whatever, in every section of my life. So how will I distinguish?
very good. So let's say that everything, and of course everything is sent by God alone. What is He testing you about? What could He be testing us about? Like what could the test be? Like you used you've correctly recognized that many times things are tests. But what would the test be? Like how would you pass or fail this test?
Don't know.
Yeah?
That's what I'm
Because
struggling.
then you can also apply the same construct and say, even my passing or failing, God is sent. You see? So if we say that God does everything, then we can't look at anything as a test. But if you recognize that, just like to our children, or as a parent, I can say to my children, I give a lot of freedom. I don't force them to call me, I don't force them to stay with me, but also I've created a sort of boundary beyond which they cannot go too much further. You see? And this is just a very provisional explanation. Actually, everything is God's will, and yet we have the choice moment to pick Him or not pick Him. Although it is ultimately His will, it is also in His play that He is playing, that He has given His children. Like, what kind of love would it be if it was all forced only? You see, so God doesn't want to experience that kind of forced love. Like we love Him because it's your will only we have to love Him. You see, then who gets joy from that kind of love? You see? So that is why both things are true. That everything happens, not a blade of grass moves without His will, and yet every moment we have to make the choice to pick the higher, pick His light, pick His presence, pick His love, and that in my mind is the only test. That in my mind, what are we doing with this particular moment? In that way, every moment is a test. So what will happen is that very rarely do we find ourselves in a point where we are willing to unlearn everything that we know even about spirituality and start completely fresh. You see? Because our prior learning, our prior understanding, many times can be helpful also, but many times can just get in the way. So, are we willing to return to the innocence of children to say, actually, I don't know how to find this Atma within myself. I have a lot of ideas about it, but I cannot testify to Atma Darshan, to Atma Gyan. And with the innocence of a child, am I willing to turn towards him? And I don't know if you were there in the beginning of Satsang, but this requires like a complete letting go of our intention, our will for our life, and to deeply surrender to God's will. Where, through what instrument do you recognize love? You can start with a simple contemplation like that. Sometimes, because you may say it's a feeling, but I'm not talking about that love which is a feeling. And as a parent of two kids who are just teenagers, I can tell you that the feeling many times is irritation, frustration, anger with children. But if somebody was to ask me, but you love your children? I say, of course I love my children, even when the feeling would be anger. So that is the love I'm saying, unconditional love. Where is it recognized? With what instrument? It's not perceived. The feeling is perceived. The anger can be perceived. Why don't they listen? You see, it's like that. This kind of thought pattern can be perceived. But unconditional love is where? Because all of us can testify to having experienced this love. We may not be able to testify to Atma Darshan, to Atma Gyan, but everyone can say, I have experienced an unconditional love at least one point in my life. So then that we can follow the perfume of that unconditional love to the source of that, which is Atma's presence within. You see? You're getting a sense of what I'm saying? So that itself can be something that you can follow in. But for that, we can't apply this. It has to be only this. Okay? And this is like that tantrumy child who wants to be applied. Who says, but I think, but I know. Okay? But it doesn't know about love. If it knew about love, then it could explain it. It doesn't know anything of value actually. It doesn't know anything of devotion. It doesn't know anything of music. All that is beautiful in our life is known in the heart. But the unfortunate thing is, in this Maya game, most of us don't know our own heart. We think it is the romantic heart, or we think it's the emotional heart. So most people tell me, when I say this, many people initially say, but I'm all heart. I'm not mind. People have always told me I'm all heart. But what they're saying is that I'm fully emotional. You see? But the heart I'm speaking of is godly. It is not emotional. It is intuitive. It is spiritual. It is your core. So if you start looking for the source of unconditional love, you can come to the darshan of the Atma within as well. And once you learn to live in the light of the Atma, then whatever it guides you is good. Whatever it doesn't guide you towards is not good.
But I am so naive. I don't know I cannot understand the guidance of God. Like, even if He is trying to say something, I will be like foolish. I don't know what He's trying to do.
All of us are like that. All of us are learning. I cannot testify in this life that I always follow His will. Many times I'm naive, I just quickly rush into solution. So one tip which may not sound very spiritual but is very, very important is that you have to slow down, like especially when it comes to decision making, just in slow motion. Yeah? You will notice that there are two forces in you. I hope you can notice that. That the mind wants you to conclude, it wants you to rush. Do this, do like that, say this, send this, talk like this, do all of that. That is that, feverish sort of energy. If you allow that to pass, let every thought just come and go. You stay. You see? And then you will feel like something came from a different place. You've already felt it many times, all of us have. That something came from a different place. It had a different texture. It was not grasping in its nature. It was loving in its nature. It was open. It was freedom. You see, it was blessing everything. It was making everything free. So wait for that to unfold. The mind will bully you. It will say, like this, so your whole life will pass you by. All the opportunities will go. And that risk you have to feel. You see, because the great sage said, no risk, no faith. If you're not feeling like you're taking a risk by letting what the mind is claiming to be opportunities go and waiting for your deeper place to guide you, see, then you will keep falling for the same things again and again. So in a way, this is the construct of the test. God is saying, can you be patient to wait for my guidance? Or do you want to get into the same loop again and again?
Because I have taken risk because I got the opportunities. I've taken a risk also because I think that maybe that is his way for guiding me. And then he always ensured that I'm not falling into that trap or whatever it is. So he always saved me. That's how I know that he loved me somewhere down the line. He's taking care of it. But still, because it's not my, I don't think so. It's a mistake or but whatever he's sending, I'm very judgmental about it. Like, what should I do in that case? But I'll take a risk, just like you said, risk and trust. So I risk it and I have a trust on him. And he ensured that this is not the right opportunity for me. So he just cancelled it immediately. So now I'm tired of it.
I want to share with you one thing, and I'm not at all trying to be harsh, and you may get upset with me because I've shared this, but I beg your forgiveness and I don't mean to upset you at all. But many times what happens is that in our mind itself, we've created two categories. One is the worldly category, how do I have this thing? One is the trusting God, risk taking for God category, but both are still in the mind. We need to dedicate ourselves to finding that deeper place. That's why I'm giving this pointer that try to find the source of your love. It comes from within you. No? That love comes from within you. That love, you can be sure, is not coming from your mind. Unconditional love, okay? All conditional love comes from the mind. Right? Unconditional love is coming from your heart, from that deeper place. Invest as much time as you can to finding that source. Then you will find the true distinction between your mind's guidance and the heart's guidance. The mind is a great trickster. It will make the spiritual pose also and it will make the worldly pose also. You see, so in our mind itself we categorize our spirituality and our worldly nature. But our true spirituality is at a deeper place, at an intuitive place, at a heartfelt place. You see? So our endeavor must be to try and find that. And God is very loving, like you yourself said. He loves you deeply. He loves everyone deeply. He will bless you if that is your intention to find Him. He will keep blessing your path. You see? So, see if you can recognize what I'm saying about the two aspects of the mind itself versus that which you just know somewhere deeper. Somewhere deeper.
Since nobody asking any question,
Yes.
I want to know how can I can be favorite of God?
How you are the, he is so loving, everyone feels like his favorite. Huh? He is so loving because, you know, my daughter, this reminded me of a story. So, my daughter, when she was young, like maybe 10 years back, she came, took my phone, changed her name from Ria to Ria, my favorite child. तो अभी भी 10 साल तक मेरा फ़ोन वैसे ही है, still says Ria, my favorite child. So this is his love, na? His love for us makes it feel like, and it's so beautiful that 7 billion of us or more, you see, when we turn to him, he's always there for us. He's always loving us. He's always saving us from trouble. Like you said, we get into all kinds of things, but he pulls us out. You see? So he's always been faithful. He's always been very loving. And it feels like for him only we are there. That's why we feel like favorites. Huh? Because for him, time doesn't work the way time works for us. You see? For us, we have to pick favorites because we have the limitation of time in a worldly way. He's got infinite time. So he can intervene, you see, in a very different way. But it's very good. You are fully loved by God. Fully loved by God. Very good. Very good. I'm happy to answer any other doubts. Give her the mic. Give him the mic.
As a seeker, during the meditation, during the prayer, uh, with the Guru presence also, there will be beautiful peace, silence. But during the worldly activities, it is missing. So how to bring that? Yeah.
What will happen is that your prayer life, if you're using every opportunity when you're not caught up in worldly things, not fully caught up, then we can't do anything when you're fully caught up, no? Anyway. But when we are halfway caught up, if we turn, no? Sometimes it seems difficult. The mind says, have some fun, do some fun stuff, but we turn towards God instead. Like in a simple way, we may put on a bhajan instead. Huh? So when we are stuck halfway, if we turn back, then a lot of it starts coming into God's view. See? The more of our life we pull into our heart, the more starts coming in. See? Like I was saying, there's no instant solution to the things. Maya will still grab us. Maya still grabs me. You see? So we just have to keep your intention to be like that is very important. You see? Your intention to be with God is very important. So when you forget, just gently return. Don't be too judgmental about yourself. Don't be too harsh also with yourself. You see, to recognize that we are foolish beggar servants of God is actually very freeing. You see, we not hear it that way yet initially, but it is not harsh on ourselves at all. It is just a recognition that I get so caught up in Maya all the time. You see, your mercy, your grace is needed to help me. So like that, keep praying for His grace. Keep praying, it'll happen. How long have you been praying? Yeah, so you'll find it'll just keep deepening. Keep praying. Anyone practices the inquiry? No. Yes. पूछ लो आज जो जो पूछना है. हाँ?
अंदर रिपोर्ट है. आपने पूछा क्या बैरियर्स आते हैं.
Yes.
तो मुझे लगता है बैरियर ज़्यादा हैं.
Right.
एक्चुअली आपने बोला प्रेयर तब है जब रिमेम्बरेंस है गॉड का. तो आई प्रे, आई से द वर्ड ऑलमोस्ट लाइक द होल डे. आई ट्राई टू, जितना मुझे लगता है. बट रिमेम्बरेंस बहुत कम देर के लिए होता है. और सुबह सुबह जो आपने बोला शुरू, तो ये थॉट आता है कि ये ज़्यादा हो रहा है. इट्स नॉट फॉर लाइक आई एम नॉट लाइक दिस. आई एम टू लाइक I'm like this is it's not humanly possible.
It's not.
I can't be in remembrance of God all the time. He will never. I'll never be able to meet Him. I'm doing it just for the
Just.
sake of, because Ma has told to karna hai to kar.
So let's really look at this. It's a very important topic. You say that to start your very day with God's name, God's remembrance, the mind resists that. Firstly, that itself is a clue. That if the mind resists something, there must be some danger to its supremacy in that. Now you say that this is too much. Basically, this is too much. Is it? But how much is enough? Do we know? Is it? And suppose that we say, oh, no, but I just want a normal human life. What is the outcome of a normal human life?
वो मैं देख चुकी हूँ. It's not like it's too much.
Tell me, what is the outcome of a normal human life?
It's only very unstable, very tiring, very full of like, there's no chain ki saans, there's so there are places where I like,
So if that is normal human life, why you want it so much?
I don't want it
You
actually. I don't want it
don't
actually.
want it. Don't want it. But because you are saying that because the mind says this way, you fall
This is
for it,
where I
right?
fall, huh?
So now don't fall after this. Somewhere you have to take the decision, you have to recognize the usual trappings of the mind, usual temptations, the trump cards of the mind, and say, spot it. Move on. Yeah. So sometimes I said to them that many years back I started sharing satsang. So one satsang, it came like this, that when you notice it and you know this is asking for trouble, then just say, आगे बढ़ो भैया, आगे बढ़ो. Not, don't stop with it. Then these kids, Bhakti and Jyotika, said that in Karnataka and Bangalore they say, right hidi. So right hidi is like, आगे बढ़ो, don't stop with me. So you just have that approach with the mind. It offers, move on.
अभी जब मैं आपके साथ हूँ तो मुझे पता चला कि मैं वहाँ अटक रही थी.
To recognize is God's grace. That grace takes us deeper. So every day things reveal themselves to us. We don't realize what conditioning we still have. Like every day the conditioning of this life is revealing itself to me also. Where pride can get stuck, where things can happen. So it's very good. If you're recognizing this, that the mind stops you from such a simple, holy guidance. Start your day with God. He knows it is trouble there for Maya. So he said, no. So you lose all semblance of a normal life. Does that sound scary? If you lose all semblance of a normal life, is that scary? अच्छा, अगर ऐसा लगे कि तुम तो बहुत अजीब हो गए हो, वो थोड़ा डरावना है, तो सब लोग सोचेंगे क्या हो गया, समा को क्या, like that.
Yeah,
But is that from within, like your own self-image, or is that, okay, now I'm talking like a psychotherapist to a psychotherapist, but is that from external sources? What are you more concerned?
मतलब बाहर का तो मुझे I don't know what other people, but ये अंदर से I have this is
What is the worst case scenario for that अंदर से? Like if you were a beggar on the street, just chanting God's name, huh?
हाँ ये I am seeing these things. Father, आपने पूछा क्या
That seems
boundary?
scary.
Yes, if I'm told to leave my profession, like stop practicing psychiatry or something, that like it's a.
So God came to you one day in your prayer and said, my child, stop practicing psychiatry. What did he say? I'm not saying he's saying that, okay? Nobody's asking you to stop. If you're helping people in that way to become peaceful, it is nothing wrong with that work. I'm just saying, for example, if he said that.
ये फादर एक तरह से लाइव चल रहा है, क्योंकि अभी जो मेरा काम है उसमें पेशेंट देखने का कोई वो नहीं है. और आज ही मैं गई थी हॉस्पिटल में, वो ये तो मैं मिस कर रही हूँ, ये नहीं, तो वो डेली.
No, but suppose he said drop the whole thing. See?
Yeah.
There's some fear around that. That's good. That's exactly what my exercise was, to identify what are the boundaries of our faith. That we say, my life is for my Guru, my life is for God. What if God was to say, ye chhod do? Like, what is there a second option? Can I go use a lifeline? Like that?
थोड़ा easy.
होता है ना? So we have to identify those areas and say, this is the part where I'm not able to surrender fully. You see, and the thing is, everybody else will feel like, bas, iska ye. But ours seem like the biggest to us. So we should never look down upon what another is not able to surrender. So very good. First it has to come into our attention, then it can be chopped. No? If it remains hidden, it can't be chopped. So many times after coming to satsang, so much comes up. So you feel like, क्या हो गया ये? मैं तो सत्संग पीस के लिए आई थी और ये तो पूरा उल्टा ही हो रहा है. So many times it comes like that. Why does it function like that? Because unless it comes into our view, then we can't surrender it or inquire it away. So identify for yourself that our lips say our life is for Guru and God. Sorry. But do we have the courage, do we have the, are we feeling like we have the power to live like that? And that is how we'll keep deepening.
I feel I don't have individually that strength, that
You don't have that?
full help.
Yeah. It has to come from God. But we have to make sure that we don't hide, like we don't hide from ourselves, get into any self-denial and mental sense-making. Just keep giving that to God, saying, I'm so weak, give me strength.
एक्चुअली मैं फादर ये सच में है, मेरे से खुद से कुछ ढंग का होता है नहीं.
ऐसे किसी से नहीं होता कुछ ढंग का, खुद से तो कुछ करना ही नहीं चाहिए. खुद से तो इज द ऑपोजिट ऑफ हुक्म रजाई चलना ना. खुद से मीन्स खुद ही को खुदा मान ले. That's the struggle. If God is there to help you, why will we go our way? Abhi tak we did not know that God can help us in that way. So it's fine. We lived a particular life. Now we know. That's why I say now you're in trouble because you're in satsang. This trouble is the holy trouble, is the auspicious trouble. Because if you can transform your life, sometimes I say it's like a rewriting of the operating system. It's a full different transformation of the way of life where you're living from a different center which is in your heart rather than the head. And there you start to recognize how much oppression you were in constantly. We are in a mind slavery right now. But that seems comfortable because that is habit and also because all our brothers and sisters in the world are living like that. है ना? But abhi, I'm sure you're getting the sense कि जो, when I'm oppressed by this mind, it is oppression. Yes? Because I remember those times when they sound terrible because the mind would say, like that, like this, and I felt like I am growing, I am getting better. But it's just mental pressure, mental slavery all the time. We can't breathe freely, we can't love freely, we can't be open-hearted. We measure everything about what's in it for me. इसमें मेरे लिए क्या है, हर चीज़ में मैं. So is that a human life? That's a goat's life.
अभी जो पता चला.
तो ट्रांसलेशन में सब अगर मैं करेंगे तो बकरी है. Not the goat is in the greatest of all time.
एक और
Yes, please.
तो जब मैं प्रे कर रही हूँ और बहुत मेहनत लग के कभी थोड़ा सा भाव आया, then
थोड़ा भाव आया.
हाँ, like I feel like and I love Ram ji, I love Ma, and they love me so much. But I stop there. Like थोड़ा हुआ ना, I feel something and then I take it.
So that you get a
Flavor.
like a sense of it, and you feel like okay, that's job for the day. Stop that. Sorry.
That's why I'm telling you.
That is an invitation. The door is opening for you, and you're saying bye bye. Don't look at the the appearance of that bhava as a culmination. Look at it as an invitation. So I was telling her to follow the perfume of that love. So it's coming there, you have to follow it more. Very good. Firstly, it's beautiful grace that God is giving us that. Huh? He is giving us that. Firstly, we must not think that it's something we did. हनुमान पोदार जी says ना कि ये हमारा सौभाग्य है कि भगवान कृपालु हैं. वो जस्टिस नहीं करते, वो कृपा ही करते हैं, मर्सी ही करते हैं. So in His mercy, He is blessing you. So use that to dive in deeper. Where is it coming from? What else is there?
Impatience है एक.
If your project is to pray all the time, then all these things will go. But if you say, I want to become more patient, I want to become humble, all these things we must become, but in our prayer life we learn all of these things. So start the day every day with coming to God's presence. Your mind will fight it. That which brings us closest to God, it will fight the most. Remember that. आप चोर को पकड़ने जाओगे तो चोर क्या बोलेगा आपको कि आ जाओ मुझे पकड़ लो, है ना? He will say no. It will throw some stone over there, so you start following in that direction, you start going in that direction. You see? So your mind is designed to be the lawyer, the narrator of Maya. It is the sutradhar of all of this. बिना इसके क्या कहानी है ना? सिर्फ all these appearances, these perceptions are going on in front of us. Without this narrative voice in the head, there is never any egotism. So we must leave this narrator. Because actually movie में कुछ और आ रहा है, narration में कुछ और आ रहा है. But we trust the narration more than the movie. Getting what I'm saying?
एक obsession है वो narration से.
You psychoanalyze yourself? क्या obsession? क्या obsession?
I kind of वो बात I keep listening.
That's a human condition, my child. सब में है. All of us have the same obsession. It manifests in different ways, of course, as you know, but the root problem is the same. How are you finding Bangalore? Good. All?
And I don't think I'm finding it good.
You're not finding it good?
No, when I don't think, I'm finding it very nice and
good.
pleasant.
That way everything is good. Are you thinking about not thinking? I feel you're thinking about not thinking. And you think about thinking about not thinking. That's a recursive loop. You can keep going. So drop it. Snap out of it. Because there's no mental way to come to the end of the mind. You just wake yourself up. And use your prayer in that way also. अगर आप राम जी का नाम ले रहे हो तो उसी के साथ रहोगे. Then what is more important that the mind can say as opposed to the name of the Lord? हाँ? बोलो.
कुछ नहीं.
ऐसा क्या हो सकता है कि जो मन में है, जो इतना ज़रूरी है कि भगवान के नाम से ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है? कुछ हो सकता है? और क्या कुछ ऐसा है जो भगवान के नाम लेने से ठीक नहीं हो जाएगा और हमारे मन में काम करने से हो जाएगा? ऐसा भी कुछ? So the highest you can do is to remember Him. To focus on Him, उन पे स्मरण रखना उनका सिमरन करना, there is no higher work you can do. So use your mantra in that way, use your ADS chanting in that way. There is a time for the mind then. See? Sometimes children write to me and they say, this happened, then I thought like this and this, then I went into that. And they say, are you praying all the time? I say, yes, Father. But both can't be true. Yes. If you went on those mental adventures, then you're obviously not praying all the time. So what I'm trying to say is not to make you feel guilty, but to remind you to pray. Do you recognize that it's very holy?
Yeah.
The Lord's name. It doesn't matter in which form it came. Nowhere, never have I ever said that the EDS has to be the best because it came from here. It's probably the worst. So, उसमें नहीं है, but I'm saying that just in one Ram, because you said you love Ram, in one Ram, what is the holiness? इतनी पूरी दुनिया में नहीं है. Child, the mind will not understand these things. But your one sincere calling out to Bhagwan, to Ramji, can transform your whole life. So remember that what you have is a very potent tool. Don't devalue what you have. Like you have a Mercedes, but don't think of it as an auto rickshaw.
Right.
If you have a Mercedes, don't think of it as an auto rickshaw. ये थोड़ा ड्रेजरी लगता है ना कभी कभी इन द चैंटिंग यू फील लाइक क्या सारा दिन राम राम करते रहते हैं. We don't realize what we are saying or what we are resisting. It is beyond the holiness of all creation is the name of the Lord. The greatest sages, the greatest ones have said that Ram's name has blessed them with the highest. That same gift has been given to us. Imagine. माँ मीराबाई said, पायो जी मैंने राम रतन धन पाया. Her Ishta was Girdhar Gopal. Ishta was Girdhar Gopal, and even she said, Ram Ratan Dhan Paya. So if you are attracted to his name in this way, you have the greatest Ratan with you, the greatest treasure. जितना उसको वैल्यू करोगे उसका it will start revealing itself more and more. The more you feel like I'm only doing it because my teacher told me, I don't really feel it, then you're missing the essence of it. Ram is the name for the light of the Atma, that presence of God itself. भगवान सच्चे लगते हैं, ये दुनिया सच्ची लगती है. It's not an exam. Just be open with me. Don't worry. It's good. Just keep at it. हाँ? आपके बच्चों को कुछ गलत वलत बोल रहा हूँ तो बता देना. Every child is free to throw a tantrum with their father. Very good. So basically, indirectly, I'm saying I'm very proud of you to bring even 1, 2 God's path to their life, very, very happy. But my expression at praising is very old school. So is the task at hand clear for all of you? Because you can't leave till it is. What is this life for? What is that intention you have to carry in your heart? And what are the tools at your disposal from by your teacher's grace, by God's grace actually, and what kind of application, which is basically all the time, it requires. It's clear on it. Yeah. Is there any flexibility in this? Apna kaam hai 100%. Because when we, like I said, when we attempt to do 100%, then little bit happen. Not even 50, but little bit happen. So if we say that I am going to balance it and do all of that, then nothing will happen. Then this whole life will get wasted.
Can you push your chair back a bit? You can stretch your leg out.
No.
This is enough space.
No, fine, I can stretch like this. I'm not that tall.
Okay.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Even if there's a doubt which seems very silly and you don't want to expose it, and just say it, because that smallest thing sometimes can block us. Yeah? Like the smallest speck of dust in our eye can block our whole vision. So if anything is coming up for you where you feel some block, something, just ask. It's okay. I was given the mic. Yeah.
So Father,
Yes.
the last time I spoke to you, you told me this, to start the day, start the day until I feel a love for God, and only then go into the task.
Put it a little closer, Mike.
Sorry, Father.
Because I want to hear every word you're saying.
Sure, Father.
So, you said that I guided you to start your day with a love for God.
To pray until I am able to feel the love for God, and only then get into the task. And you asked me if I feel a risk with this, and I did feel a risk. And so, to be very honest with you, Father, I've had more failures than successes. Some days I do, I'm able to do this, but
is it a failure of your intention, or is it a failure of the outcome? Like, you try but the love is not felt, or you don't try at all?
I don't try at all. That is what's happened. So I want to expose what's going on in that process, Father. So there's a very clear, it's very clear to me. The days I do this, it's a very different day than the days when I don't try. But then slowly what's been happening is that the day I do feel, when I do feel the love for God, then I don't want to stop. But then
you don't want to stop what?
Stop praying.
Yes. So why should you want to stop praying?
So when I'm transitioning so I sit without doing anything with the mala and I pray. But when I have to start a task, there's a break.
Allow the task to unfold within your prayer.
How to do that, Father?
So that's what I was getting a sense that you're saying that there's a mode which is love for God, which is prayer, and then you have to get into the worldly mode. You never have to get into worldly mode. The worldly things will happen within godly mode.
Okay, Father.
You can ask me more, don't worry. So you started your day with prayer. Initially, suppose you felt disconnected from God, but you prayed enough with devotion, and you started feeling His love, His presence. Okay? Now, don't transition out of this. The whole point of the exercise is to keep you there throughout the day. Not that the flower is bloomed and then fragrance is there the rest of the day. But you have to stay with the flower. Sorry for the bad metaphor, but you have to stay with the flower throughout the day. So stay like that and stay with your prayer. Then task will come. Like give me an example of a task.
I have to cook, for example.
Very easy. That doesn't get okay. Don't kill me. Not very easy in the sense of the process of cooking, but the remaining with the prayer is not so difficult in the process of cooking. The cooking can keep happening, but you can keep praying. You can keep going, doing the EDS, and the cooking can happen. Then what is the next task? Oh, you feel like it can't happen?
So it's probably a mental thing, Father. So then that requires me to get off of wherever I'm sitting, leave the mala aside, and then do something.
You want to, Radha Ma wants to share something about that? She had a bit of a struggle with this also. Give us a minute. Because I should not be answering any question about cooking as a task.
So first of all, I'm the worst one here with ADS, okay, so this is not the right one to ask. But what I do is I just say it aloud. I wake up and I have to cook for my kids to go to school, and there's lots going on in the morning. So I have found it easy to just verbally say it, and because that doesn't hinder, like the physical activity. And many times I have 2 kids and in-laws and everything. So when that's happening, like my ADS is Krishna, so I would just sometimes call Krishna inside, just because I'm not able to say it even in words or outwards. It's a lot happening outside. So just calling Krishna once just reminds me of God or whatever. Like that's how I'm doing this right now. And I've seen it was really tough. I had almost a trauma with ADS. It was that tough in my mind for whatever conditions I have. But I can see how much the mind fights it. Like now I can see how much it's fighting and why it's fighting so much. And it can feel like it's happening to me and but it's not true like that. I still have struggles, but I would really encourage you to just try, whatever way it comes, just maybe verbally, vocally would help. Just saying it on your lips, that helps the whole ADS.
Yeah.
It might take time, it might take time for the whole thing to settle, but stick to it is what I would say. Yeah.
Yes, but the intention has to be to, thank you. The intention is not to transition out at any point. The intention is only to deepen more and more and more and more and more. To the extent that if you pray all day, then you will find yourself praying, like you will feel like the prayer didn't stop in sleep also. It will become so much natural to you. So just keep it like a constant thing. That is why these words are so important. Nirantar japa, unceasing prayer, undivided prayer. So you have to take them very literally. Very, very literally. And then the question can come that how is it possible in this human life to have unceasing prayer? It's a very important question to ask. But if you sincerely ask this question, then the answers reveal themselves. You see? So what happened now? Suppose you're cooking, then you can say your full prayer. I don't feel like you can just say, Lord, Sri Ram, incarnation of God, bless my heart, light of spirit, have mercy on me, sinner, bless my heart, Lord, Atma, whatever your prayer is. So that can go on. Then suppose that it's a task where a lot of interaction is needed. You're in a meeting and a lot of things are happening. Then you just focused on that task, and it seems like there is really no space in that to do the full But you can do your the arrow mantra at the end, the repetition of Lord's name 7 times. You can do that once every few minutes, or if you can do it constantly. Like some find it very easy to just do Ram, 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 or Jesus, 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 Allah, 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 Allah. I can go on even in the midst of other activity. And if even that much space is not there, attention is fully taken by the task of the world, then just remind yourself every few seconds, every minute, whatever is the maximum you can do. So a lot of difficulty happened in the Sangha because because I kept saying that we must put the maximum possible, not the minimum possible. You see? So then sometimes you can feel like, but why isn't just isn't chanting the name of the Lord enough? You can just go Ram, 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 Ram. So then why do you have to do the full ADS prayer? You see? Because we have to extend ourselves to the maximum possible for God, not the minimum tick in the box possible. So that is very important. That जितना हो सके पूरी जान लगा दो. You see, God knows your struggle. You see, God knows your struggle. So I often take this example, and they are tired of hearing this. That if my son had a free day, he used to live overseas for some time. So, but if he was free and he was just watching TV and he called me and he said, "Love you, Pa." I was missing you, so I called it. "I love you, beta, too. Very nice. What you doing?" Like that. But if he said, "I'm having a very busy day at work. I'm just running from meeting to meeting, but suddenly I remembered you and I called you and I love you, Pa," then the heart will melt. So in the same way for our Divine Father also, He knows our struggle. That if we are really struggling, things are happening, but we turn to Him, He knows. If this worldly Father can know, then He knows. You see, so our job is maximum possible for God. कितना कर सकते हैं, कितना कर सकते हैं. Don't veer towards the minimum, veer towards the maximum. Because the mind wants to do very tick in the box. But ठीक है ना, like that. Even this said it's okay, so why can't I do it? Because they are speaking from a different context. Always, the feeling in the heart should be to give the highest to God, and then the world will take care of itself, not the other way around, that I'm going to be involved in the world and give little lip service to God. You're getting a sense of it? So make your life an unceasing prayer to God. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
I want to confess, Father, that when you mention, it's funny, but
when you mentioned that if Siddharth Malhotra marriage, if you
Siddharth Malhotra?
marriage,
Sorry.
I mean, if that, no, I mean, oh, I didn't think about that.
Now the cat's out of the bag. When I asked the question of whether Siddharth Malhotra came as an exchange for God,
I forgot. So
if it was the other way, it would not be so easily forgiven.
Sorry?
If he was talking about the deeper essence, let's get at that. That's important. So you were saying that if life makes a kind of offer like that, that suddenly something happened, and actually the most good-looking, the smartest, the most caring, the most intelligent human came in front of us as a possibility, as a life partner or something like that. Versus, but you're not feeling like godly about it. You're not feeling an auspiciousness in your heart about it. So it's just purely, for grasping for worldly reasons. Then do we have the strength to stay with God in those times? That's the question.
Yes, Father. And first I thought that, okay, I won't be like lured by it, and I'm like, I want to be dedicated to this project. But I realized, no, I can be swayed, and I felt it was a very like prideful thing to say that I won't be affected, and in that situation I would want to stay with God, but I
It
know,
can be strong.
yeah,
Can be a strong temptation.
yeah, like recently with I had gone back home, and I was always wanting to have a good happy family, and which was never happening, and it all of a sudden was happening. And I told Ma that it's feeling good here, no reason to come back in a way it felt. And but thanks to Ma, of course, came back. But then I realized, oh, I can't be confident about, I'm so overconfident about any situation.
Very good to notice that. We've been reading the Ramcharitmanas ji, but in that Tulsidas ji mentions about the Satsang versus Kusang. And Kusang is bad company, but bad company is not necessarily outside. It's what we indulge in for ourselves within, that then grows. So the company that we keep outwardly and inwardly, that grows in our life. But inwardly is even more important. It doesn't mean that we have license to keep all bad company outside, but if we are getting into attachments, if we're getting into temptation, if we're getting into thoughts of separation, of pride, of all kinds of things like this, then that keeps festering. Then once you're back to satsang, then you find yourself in a different space, and then you feel like that is growing, that is getting better. But we should never say that I over Maya. That is like literally famous last words. Anyone who says I'm over Maya is just like asking for trouble. Because Maya is Mahamaya, is a creation of God Himself. It's not something to be trivialized. That's why even Kabirji said, it's a Mahathagini. Mahathagini is the greatest con artist. So we must never feel like little old foolish ones like us can get over Maya. So we always have to request His love, His presence, His grace to remain empty of Maya. Very good. I love the way she very innocently talked about Siddhartha Malhotra. Very clean heart. I'm trying to save you from any. But his expression is like, "मैं बेचारा क्या करूं?" Wonderful. See, as much as you want to clear up. But the sweetest was when she is openly saying, I forgot. Yeah. That means it's a good satsang. She's remembering only God and what is blocking her way to God. So I'm giving all the excuses. Say it.
Thank you for introducing Jesus Christ in my life. I'm so grateful. I always wanted to write to you on Zoom, but I was like, I want to tell you in person. But thank you.
So all of you, I also want to mention that you must never create any differences between all seekers of God, all lovers of God. It's all one religion actually. We should get rid of these conceptual ideas because the stupidity is at absurd levels. Huh? Who's a Hindu and who's a Muslim and who's a Christian? Based on what? How is it? It's absurd, no? If I say Atma, I am a Hindu. If my brother says Holy Spirit, he is a Christian. And we are different. Because my Atma is different from his Holy Spirit, is it? Huh? It's all silliness. Just because these things had different origins and those times distances were different, the world context was different. And ultimately it's all pride. How come the family, the religion that we follow and we are born into is always the best? It's all pride. So we must value, we must respect all our brothers and sisters, and if I had my way, which I have no such power, but I would get rid of these boundaries and these things. Every pathway to God is the same God. Whether we say Bhagwan or Allah or Jesus or God, it doesn't matter. There's too much hatred for reasons of politics and power in the world today. We must not fall for that at all. And I know that all of you come to Satsang, so I'm pretty sure that you're not falling for it. But it's important to make this point. Like, look at the root of it. The same holy presence is in all our hearts. So will we say one who is praying to that holy presence with a different name, then is not my brother, is not my sister? In fact, to the extent that we are willing to harm them, to kill them, that is sheer absurdity. So all those who are in service to God, we have to divide in religion and say, oh, we can only follow this one, we can't follow that one. I don't feel like there's any difference between Ram, Krishna, Jesus. I don't feel like there's any difference between God and Allah. The words are different, that's all. How to come? This is One of these things about Maya is that this kind of problem just never goes away. We love to divide ourselves. But in His will, everything can happen. So we just have to pray for, even though it sounds utopian, that may all brothers and sisters live in love and His light. And the more educated we are becoming, the more technology we have, the worse we are becoming actually. Because everyone has a platform to spread hatred. So whatever little we can all do, we must explain to our families, explain, because it's infested even very educated people in our families and all of them. So whatever little chance I get, I try to share my thought about this, my feeling about this. We must also, little, then it makes a difference. It isn't bad enough. Oh, sorry, if I start on this topic, then I keep ranting, but it isn't bad enough that brothers and sisters are willing to kill each other because we have drawn some stupid lines on a map. That is not bad enough. We also now want to find ways to kill each other for all of these things. In the name, just for the difference in the name of God, in the method, the pathway to God. The silliest thing. And look at wars, they're the most absurd thing. They drew lines, sometimes the line goes in the middle of the village, one village. If you see the map of Africa, you can see that on a table some people have sat and made these lines because they're straight lines without any care for which families are being divided, which villages are being divided in this way. They've just divided the spoils of war in this way and created so much division in the hearts of brothers and sisters for each other. If this is not hell, then what is it? So be the light of love for everyone that you meet. Spread love, spread light. On that note, I feel very happy every time she comes back from because this Goa is, there's a lot more emphasis on the go and very little emphasis on the
I wanted to ask you, how is the R part this time? I know it keeps getting extended.
This is for everyone.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to Matthew for a moment, then I have to rush home because my daughter was calling.
Hello.
Hello, my dear.
It's been a while. I felt a bit to come up, Can
Come
you hear me?
Can everyone hear him better?
Get closer, maybe.
Yes, this is good.
Yeah, but it's just been a while, And I like coming up and saying hello,
Yes,
Like some of the things really kind of resonated as well deeply in my heart as I was listening. Just somehow it's amazing. Somehow these last couple of days has been such strong fire, Like a lot of inner movement, and I feel like on some level I see it's grace, And it's some moments there's such clarity, that there's just this untouched space. And some other times it's just a sense of being so totally kind of in Maya with it,
Yeah.
Grabbed by Maya. And so sometimes this kind of really the spiritual identity can come, no, and judging and feeling not good enough and all this thing. Yeah.
How is it now after satsang? How is it?
Much better.
That's good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like how you were saying not to keep on. Just somehow it's also we have to keep on just making this choice, no?
Yes.
And yeah, as challenging as it can feel sometimes.
Yes, exactly, exactly.
I feel like also the sense of it's been when something comes so strongly that there's some urge to want to avoid feeling these things, no, and
Of course.
to sit with these things. Sometimes I feel like with the challenges, but yeah, yeah.
It's very good because I'm glad you brought this up. In a way, this has been the whole topic of the satsang today, and how Maya's ploys pull us back into spiritual identity or like a worldly identity, and how we have to make the choice to return to our heart, especially when it seems so difficult. We can check whether I haven't really shared about this too much recently, but it came in satsang today that we can just check for ourselves, is our hand feeling more real than God? Because our hand is always there. No? So we can just check, is our hand feeling more real than God right now? And if it is, then we have to turn deeper inwards. Then this whole waking state and its appearances don't seem that tangible. They seem like bright and feathery. Then they seem so real. Just turn deeply into your heart. So the hand is a good example because it's just in front of us all.
Yeah, on some level, it's what you speak like the, you know, how every master says to really be free of attachments to worldly things, you know,
Yeah.
or even spiritual things, no? And on some level, it still appears quite challenging and difficult because, yeah.
It's challenging. It is challenging for me also many times. I'm not liking the way I say me also, as if it's some big thing that I have to work on my expression a bit, but it happens to all of us.
Mm. Thank
Love you all.
you. Love you, love you.
We'll make up for this Friday. Actually, have you all noticed that? I hope you've noticed that it doesn't matter whose question is being answered. That God makes it so that He brings in front of us that which we need in that moment, if we truly turn towards Him. Some children I'm seeing after a long time. I'm very happy to see you back. Very good.